Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another episode of Keeping Up with Conspicuous. Today, I'm joined by the very smiley Lewis, and we will be talking a lot about all different things today within the tech space, which is going to be very exciting because it's actually a topic which we haven't covered yet. So I think it will be quite interesting. But for those that may not know yourself, who you are, and where you've come from, let's give them a bit of an introduction to you.
Yeah, sure. Hi, Lucy. Thanks so much for having me, by the way. And also, your podcast name is incredible. I love your podcast name. It's so fun.
Why, thanks.
I'm Lewis. I'm Lewis. Let me give an introduction to myself. I am a consultant at Avanade. I work with our modern workplace clients, so working across things like Microsoft Copilot, more focused perhaps on M365 Copilot, things like Copilot Studio, and the extensibility side of things. I also work very heavily in Power Platform. My journey sort of came from the D365 and Power Platform space. I am an MVP in both M365 and BizApps. And yeah, big Microsoft community lover, that sort of stuff. But I think, yeah, that's me.
That's a good little overview, I must admit. And you definitely are heavily involved in the community, which is what I absolutely love. I always see you plastered over LinkedIn. You're always at events. That's where we met as well. An event.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is super good as well. So obviously, I know for you, you've recently come into Avanade and you've gone into this new area, should we say,
Mhm.
for yourself, because previously you weren't within that space of work, were you?
Not completely. So I've done a bit of a slight transition. The thing is with Power Platform, right, is that in a lot of organizations, a lot of consultancies, Power Platform doesn't necessarily have its own designated home. It's not, so to speak, a solution area. It's not one of Microsoft's solution areas. It's one of their products, but it doesn't quite get its own space. And what you find
Okay.
is that in consultancies, a lot of the time, Power Platform kind of gets sprinkled over here and it gets sprinkled over here. Um, and it's best used across a lot of different solution areas. Commonly,
Yeah.
BizApps have it, right? It's very heavily found in business application practices. Lots of organizations have a low code practice. Um, I do Power Platform in modern work now, where I've gone from more of a sort of BizApp slash low code practice in my previous organization, ANS, to now working in Avanade, where I get to see the modern workplace stuff as well, because we do Power Platform in modern workplace, which is super cool. So yeah, I now get to touch all of the sort of stuff which is Microsoft 365 Copilot and general Microsoft 365, Microsoft Viva, all of the sort of employee engagement type platforms and productivity tools, as well as still doing Power Platform. And it's really cool for me because I've got an enormous interest in something called Microsoft Graph. Which is kind of like one of the products that ties a bunch of the different things together and lets us do extensibility on M365 and stuff like that. So for
Okay.
me, it's awesome. It's great. I love being in this space now where I can touch the stuff that I was doing in community last year and into this year, where I'm actually now touching
Yeah.
that stuff in my job along with the stuff that I, you know, sort of come into this industry knowing and learning and consulting on. So it's awesome.
I've never even heard of Microsoft Graph, but I guess I mean I'm in a D365 background, so as you said, it's
Mm,
more biz apps and that's what I'm sort of aware of. So this I've never been aware of the modern workplace. I know I've got a few bits here and
yes.
there. What's Microsoft Graph?
So Microsoft Graph is comprised of, I think it's three different components. Yeah, I think three. The main thing that Microsoft Graph does is it provides is the Microsoft Graph API. Comes in a REST API and SDK format. And what it basically lets you do is it lets you take out the productivity data that we constantly, almost like subconsciously create in M365 day to day. So think about all of the emails that you send, all of the Teams messages that you send, the room bookings, calendar invites, all of that stuff is almost like what I like to consider subconsciously created data. It's not like we're going to create a row in an Excel workbook work, or create a new entry in D365 because we qualified a sales opportunity, right? It's the kind of stuff
Right.
that we just subconsciously do, and we don't necessarily consider it as formal data. But Graph lets you get access to all of those things that sort of live behind the quote product walls. All of those emails, Teams messages, bookings. If you're in education tenants, it's stuff like homework assignments, which is really, really cool for education tenants. So it lets you start to build apps for M365 and extend M365 experiences. That's the first thing that is part of the Microsoft Graph platform. The next thing is something called Microsoft Graph connectors.
Okay.
And Graph connectors let you index data into M365 to enhance M365 experiences. So that could be extending Microsoft 365 Copilot. It could be extending just the normal search box that exists in Microsoft365.com. So if you ever go to office.com and you search for a file, you could actually be searching for a Jira ticket or a Dynamics 365 ticket because you've used Graph connectors to extend those experiences with other third-party platforms. And then the final
Right.
part, I'm getting there. I'm getting there. The third part is Microsoft Graph Data Connect, and that's one that I've touched less, but to my knowledge is the thing that you can use to take sort of larger data sets for things like Viva Insights out of M365 and push them into places like Azure Synapse and Fabric, where you can do sort of greater data analytics and stuff like that on employee engagement platform data. So Graph is cool. Graph is like, let's take M365 and go and build our own apps and extend M365 or make it a bit better because we've got these platforms over here that we want, we want them to talk to each other. So I love Graph. Graph is cool.
Interesting. Yeah, because like I hear of these different ones, and like even like Viva Insights and stuff like that. I come across them. I've probably got it in my little apps
Mm.
somewhere. I haven't got a bloody clue about those ones. Like I
Yeah,
just, do you know what I mean? Like I probably
so
haven't touched on
much
them, and
to keep up
so
with,
I was about to say for
right?
you, you've had to learn a lot transitioning into this
Yeah.
role. I can imagine.
Yeah, and I think it's actually sort of all slotted into place really, really nicely because for me, I came into ANS and I was very, very Power Platform focused. I'd done a tiny bit
Yeah.
of Microsoft Graph stuff in ANS because I worked with a colleague um, who did a lot of Microsoft Graph stuff, and then I came into ANS. Very still focused on Power Platform and D365. I spent a lot of time working with customer service and omnichannel, and sort of the live chat functionality and extensibility on omnichannel as well and that sort of stuff. And then moved back into Power Platform a little bit more after that bit of time doing Dynamics. But through that period of, whilst I was at ANS, I started doing the community work, looking into graphs specifically, not so much Copilot yet, but looking specifically at graphs and building out, concepts around contextualized data and data-driven user experiences and what actually happens when we look further than just how we make something look or whether something is technically accessible to people with different needs for using an application and things like that, when trying to build a really, really good user experience and actually unpicking what user experience means. And that sort of led me into thinking about these concepts around data driven user experience and how we can use data and small pieces of information to enhance user experience. So it might be something like, and these experiences exist in M365 already. So it might be something like I'm booking a meeting and a scheduling assistant is really, really helpful for the fact that it tells me everyone else's availability. That's the
Yeah.
kind of stuff that you would build with Microsoft Graph. It takes a secondary focus of data, something contextual, something that you can use in a contextualized manner alongside a primary focus, where it then just enhances that user experience. So an example that I built was a solution for a healthcare scenario where we may have a scenario where we're understaffed on a ward and we may need an additional amount of support from clinicians who might be hopping between different wards and things that are going on in the hospital. And let's say we go up to a kiosk device and we selected a skill and just got returned a bunch of different clinicians' names who we can click an icon and ping them, rather than having to do a process like looking in, I don't know, a folder to find people's skills matched up to their names in a book, and then checking their Outlook calendar to see if they're available, then checking Teams to see if they're present so that we can chat with them, then pinging them and waiting for a response. Like, we just speeded up all of that process because we used all of those data points, their availability, their presence, skill matching, because we created custom data in Dataverse. We pull all of that together, and suddenly a data-driven user experience massively speeds up a workflow. So that's some of the concept that I was working around in community and building that out. So I'd done a lot of work, around Graph, and I wrote something like a 30 or 40 post blog series whilst I was doing my ridiculous 365 posts last year. Don't do it, anyone. If you're watching, don't do it. It's not a good idea, I promise. You heard it from me. So yeah, I was writing that blog series and doing a lot of work in community around Graph, doing webcasts and stuff like that. So coming into Avanade and being in Modern Workplace now is actually just a really, really nice fit, in the sense that I can super speed my learning and my progress in M365 topics and Graph and stuff like that, because I'm actually now also doing it in my day job. So actually it's all slotted together really nicely, and it's really, really fun.
Oh, that's so good. And I know you just touched upon the blog series, and I just want to highlight this comment for you because
Yeah.
it's a really lovely comment from, I don't know whether you know, it
Uh,
might be Jean or it says Jean, but I think it's
oh yeah.
Jean-Paul Doscher,
Yeah.
saying that he's a huge fan here, Lewis, and following your incredible journey more than 2 years ago. Love your blog. Congrats. So
Oh.
that's that's
Oh,
so
that's
cool. Just
so nice. We will
knowing.
connect on LinkedIn after, Jean, and yeah, I'll ping you on LinkedIn. We can connect. That's really, really nice to hear such nice feedback. So thank you.
And I think just one thing with you, like when you're talking about all this, just passion oozes out of you. Like it literally just comes out, and it's so refreshing. And to be fair, when I speak to a lot of people, like it's just nice to hear their passion about the tech
Right?
industry. But like
Yeah.
yeah, just listening to you is fantastic. And one thing that I absolutely love is because when people like yourself talk about real life applications and
Mm,
how it actually affects
mm,
real life things going on. I I find it fascinating because I don't think people actually like realize the importance of tech behind all these things and how many different
yeah.
layers and elements and stuff there is to it. So when you've got a passionate person like yourself who actually wants to make a change and wants to put this all in place
Mhm.
to increase productivity or ease or whatever it may be, I
Yeah.
honestly find it fascinating stuff. Yeah,
Oh, 100%. And I think some of this stems from some of the conversations and connections that I've made with some really fantastic industry leaders. I have a friend in the community, called Stephanie Stacey, and we run the Bletchley AI user group together, not Bletchley Park, sorry, Bletchley AI user group together. Um, Steph is an absolute cheerleader of everything Microsoft tech in healthcare, Microsoft community, all sorts of things like that, and is absolutely fantastic at strategizing and ideating around how technology can be used in a healthcare scenario. And we've sat together over a Wagamama and stuff like that before, and I've read some
nice.
of the stuff that she's worked on, and community stuff that she's been building, and some of these ideas around things that can be, how tech can be used in healthcare. And her ideas are just absolutely insane. It's so nice to have conversations with people that have actually been in industry and been in sectors, and it's not just consultancy where we're trying to figure out a bit of each of them so that we can work well with clients, but actually someone that's spent a lot of time in, say, healthcare, for example, and has a lot of great ideas around that. And so you know it's really refreshing to actually think about some use cases that will generate impact and success and will have a broad reach, and will do good. And so it's I get a lot of that probably from the conversations that I have with people like Steph and people in the community. It's nice to, yeah, to match what we can do with tech to something that will be
Yeah.
impactful.
Absolutely, and I'll put a little, hint in, but Stephanie may be kicking off our next year podcast, she's in the lineup,
Yes.
so, yeah, I'm excited to speak with her because we sort of like have spoken about the topics, and I know healthcare's come up. So super
Yeah.
excited to sort of see her views on stuff as well. So it'll be interesting.
Mm.
But obviously, I know with everything, it sort of ties back to Copilot, and people are now saying they don't want to say
Mhm.
the word because it's absolutely everywhere. But it would just be interesting to know a little bit more about you and the industry focus and where Copilot sort of has become a theme.
Mm.
And just let's dive into a
Yeah.
bit more about that.
Yeah, so I think the thing that's interesting and the thing for people to remember is that we are what we're coming up to we're just over a year and a half or about 2 years into this era. Um, Copilot is I think been around for about a year and a half. Um, and the thing I think we have to remember is Power Platform started in an early day and is nowhere near what it is now, right?
Yeah,
And so, everyone, there's a lot of people that have this concept around or this theme around, oh, it's more Copilot and it's more AI. Um, but actually, I like to think a little bit differently, and I actually love some of the stuff that Microsoft is putting out. I think we have to remember that there is an audience for each thing that some people may not think is useful, right? Let's
yeah,
take something like SharePoint agents, for example. For really, really technical colleagues who are building and deploying models with Azure AI Foundry and stuff like that, SharePoint agents may not be the most helpful thing for someone who is just day-to-day a developer.
yeah,
Something like GitHub Copilot or Azure AI Foundry and working with models is going to be helpful for that person. So there are going to be a lot of technical people perhaps that won't find that thing useful, but it doesn't necessarily mean that there aren't a community of people who are, working in accountancy, working with SharePoint day to day, working in sales, etc., who will find that incredibly useful. The fact that we can now select, say, 10 files and create a Copilot and query those 10 files with natural language straight away is incredible. And so that's a really simple, sort of very democratized user experience that I think Microsoft have released lately. And I suppose it's one of the things where people are kind of saying, well, there's Copilot absolutely everywhere. Copilot, Copilot, Copilot. I'm like, yes, all of you get a Copilot. Everyone gets a Copilot. This is an Oprah Winfrey type special. You get a Copilot, right? That's what's happening here. And yeah, I think I'm really on board with it. I think it's a really positive journey. I think there's been some really cool announcements at Ignite. I've been following a lot of the stuff around agents.
yeah.
I think us moving into this agentic world will be really, really exciting. And there was one thing that I was sort of waiting to see from Microsoft, which is how agents start to work together and the sort of look at autonomous agents and things like that, where slightly before Ignite, I think a couple of weeks before Ignite, Microsoft deployed and to all of our tenants, they let us use the new declarative agents and way of extending M365 Copilot. Um, what they demoed in the keynote at Ignite was really exciting. And that was actually when the Copilot orchestrator could start to say, oh, well, we think the sales agent would be the next best agent to help you with this thing. And so we're starting to move away from human orchestration in these agentic scenarios to actual generative AI led orchestration, which is really, really exciting. It's some of the stuff that's been demoed in solutions like AutoGen and things like that. And we'll actually start to see, I might prompt a Copilot and then it will respond and say, this is the thing that I can help you with, blah, 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 blah. Here's my drafted content that you may need. And then it might come along and say, oh, but by the way, I think the sales agent might be helpful with the next part where we might need to create a new opportunity for you. And it will start to bring these different agents in and the best agent that can help with that specific scenario. So that's something very, very exciting that I'm really excited about that was demoed in Ignite. There are a lot of sessions on autonomous agents as well. The thing, yeah, that I would say to everyone is, yes, there is AI everywhere. We are in the era of generative AI. A lot of people looking at things like AGI as well. I know that we're perhaps not so close to that, but a lot of conversation around that. You'll notice on OpenAI's website, if you look at some of the different pages, AGI is mentioned a lot. And the
Okay.
movement towards that is mentioned a lot. We have a session later at Bletchley AI. Darshna Shah is going to talk to us about artificial general intelligence. And so that will be really, really exciting to hear her thoughts on that. We're in the AI era, right?
Yeah.
So not everything will be great for everyone. A SharePoint
Yep.
agent that works on a couple of documents won't be great for a developer that never has to write an RFP, or a SAO or something like that. But it will be great for an architect that has to write those documents, or someone in sales that has to write some of those documents, someone in pre-sales perhaps. GitHub Copilot will not be great for people working in sales who don't write code, but it will be great for a developer. There's going to be AI infused in everything that we're doing. All of the applications that we use across Microsoft 365, across the Microsoft Cloud, not all of it will be great for everyone. You have to, I think, find the bits that work for you, to make it really, really impactful. And I think there's a lot of value in the right bits for the right people.
Absolutely. I think that's such a key thing that no one's actually touched upon or openly spoken about. And it's
Mm.
the fact that all these new advancements aren't always going to help you. Like,
Yes. Yeah.
loads of things are going to come out, but you've got to pick and choose the key things that are going to help
Mm.
you, and it's not going to be everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
Unfortunately, it doesn't work like that. And
100%.
tech, it's just mind boggles me how advanced tech is. And like,
I
you
know.
think you've reached a
Yeah.
peak and you're like, okay, Copilot's out, it's out there, we're now going to be advancing that. Now you've just spoken about, was it AGI?
Yes, AGI and
Which,
sort of moving towards that, and well, this agentic world. When Copilot came
yeah,
out, we had no, people were not talking about agents and agentic AI, and the fact that perhaps multiple agents would be talking in a conversation with us, or agents would be pinging us autonomously because we received an email, and it found out, it sort of noticed that it was important, and so it's drafted a response back for us already, right? Like, we are going to have agents acting as our PAs. We're going to have agents acting as PAs for sales, for operations, for our day-to-day calendar. These are things that we can build today in Copilot Studio with the preview functionality that's already been released as of Ignite. So it's super, super exciting. I am already trying to build myself a personal assistant agent, that I can use to perhaps help me with my inbox, help me with meeting planning and invitations and stuff like that. So this is super, super exciting. Power Platform people, Copilot Studio is in your remit, right? You guys have AI over here, so you can spend a lot of fun time looking at that. Um, Modern workplace people, Microsoft 365 Copilot is obviously very, very much in your space. There's a nice, nice amount of crossover, for people to sort of cross the fence and get involved across different solution areas. That's the thing that I'm really keen to make sure I'm doing, is looking at the broad landscape of the tech, looking at things like Purview and the guardrails around Copilot, looking at the modern workplace solutions, still staying involved in Power Platform and D365. The tech landscape, in the Microsoft stack is incredibly exciting at the moment.
I I honestly I tell you, I get mind boggled every time I come on a podcast and learn something new, because I've never heard of AGI. This is the first time, so I'm definitely
Yeah.
gonna have to look into it a little bit. But this is the first time I've heard of it. And obviously, I am inside the tech industry, but I'm not directly, obviously, like a
Mm.
consultant or involved. So like, uh, all this new stuff that's coming out and hearing about it is just, it's just crazy. But I
Yeah.
know, as you said, it's sort of opening up new avenues, and I think it's quite exciting because, you know, people can get quite competent in their roles, and I
Mm.
don't think you can do that in IT because it is ever evolving. But I
Oh,
think
right.
it's yeah, it's giving like a new breadth of life at this year, I would say, though, because
Mhm.
as you said, there's so many new avenues and pathways being opened up to people that
Yes.
you may have not even known were going to be there, because it's it was all future talk, but now it's
Yeah.
the present,
Yeah.
and it's there. I
Yeah.
think it's
So,
exciting.
oh, 100%. And so my friend, Donna Sarkar, she posted a tweet this morning. A tweet? Can we say that still? We're definitely still saying tweet, right? We're
I'm going
not
to say
moving.
tweet. Yeah.
I'm gonna say, a post on Blue Sky is also the new thing of where we're going.
Okay.
Um, this is the new platform. Donna tweeted this morning, about an event that she is running on the 13th of December, which will be really, really cool. Everyone ping Donna for details, and stuff like that. There will be some cool things that you can learn for your career in the AI verse, as she likes to call it, and as some of us community friends like to say. Um, and yeah, I'm sorry, where was I going with this? I've gone on a tangent now and lost my train of thought. Donna is doing a thing. What was the question that you asked me? I've completely gone on a tangent. Go on.
I I was saying about how it's opening up avenues for people.
Oh, of course, of course, of course.
But
Um, Yeah, no, no, no. And there are some fantastic different career pathways and things like that opening that I'm sure Donna's going to speak about. Go and look at the thing that she's doing on the 13th of December. That will talk about how you transition your career in different sectors in the AI verse. There's an enormous amount of hype around things like the fact that we actually have to check that these models do what we are kind of hoping that they do, right? And Scott
yep,
Hanselman did a fantastic talk at Scottish Summit around the fact that these are not just intelligent models. There is no an element of human intelligence behind these things. These are probability based models. The fact
yep,
that the majority of the people would say park when we say shall we go to the
yep,
and it's the highest probability that park is the next word, and hence what AI will generate. That there is no element of intelligence or human intelligence behind these models, and these are probability type based models. And so with generative content, generative AI based content and things like that, there's going to be a number of scenarios where we need to make sure that those models are still, you know, good enough to be put in front of the public, still good
yep,
enough to be deployed into our organizations. And so there will be a number of teams set up to do things like just validate that the content is right. People
yep,
that currently work in industry, in healthcare, in accounting, in sales, in all of these different spaces, in healthcare, whatever it is, um, there will be roles created for non-technical people and that already exist for non-technical people to just do validation of the fact that what the model says is actually correct.
yep,
um, because it wouldn't be good if humans could prompt these models and say, oh, by the way, I know that this awesome thing happened yesterday that never did, and it respond and say, yeah, that was a really really cool thing that just happened. Here's a bunch of information about it that you can't actually find anywhere on the internet.
yep.
um, and so there will be a number of roles that people will be able to start picking up around some of that stuff. And I think Donna will definitely talk about some of that stuff in the thing that she's doing on the 13th. So go check that out. Um, Lots of career stuff that I'm sure she will be talking about. And yeah, look out for that.
Absolutely. And just while we've got another comment, because I just think it's a really, honestly, these comments are lovely for you. But it's saying, from Chris Clifford, he said, Lewis's blog has been my #1 source for keeping up to date with Power
Oh, that's
Platform.
so
Really
nice.
looking forward to the insights on Copilot and modern work, Lewis. So I think it's
That's so
so
nice.
interesting that, like, the influence you've had on this community already, you will be that next Scott or Donna doing a closing or opening keynote. I'm calling it now. Like, that honestly, the way that you come across is exceptional, and the way you put things across to those that may not even understand it from an outside
Mm,
perspective, it's great as well. And I think, yeah, as you said, I think you're putting across quite a few keynotes, especially with the fact that with the virtual agents, we
mm.
can't take them for what they are just yet until they've sort of gone through that process of being,
Yes,
like, confirmed. Because I mean, I was
always.
in the keynote with Scott as well, and it did make me laugh, because you do think everyone in those industries that aren't tech focused, they
Mm,
would take it as
gospel.
Bible. Yeah, yeah.
Right, right.
And they would
Always
run with
check
it.
AI
Yeah.
content. Everyone, always check AI content. Do not have Copilot generate an entire Word document that you're about to send to your boss and don't read it before you send it. Always check AI content, right?
Yep,
These are supposed to be, there's a reason this is called Copilot. This is not autopilot. This is
yep,
our generative AI assistant. Agents are going to be our assistants. You are still the driver at the wheel. You should still be responsible for the content that you put on the page, whether AI helped you with it or not. Everything that you
yep,
publish, still down to the person whose name is next to the post on LinkedIn. And so that's 100% the thing I think to say to everyone. And it says it on Microsoft interfaces. Check AI content, right? This is so, so
yep.
important.
Absolutely. And with yourself, so I know we've sort of covered a lot about your
Mm,
transition, the different pathways, obviously Copilot and the excitement there. I know you've touched upon your group of Bletchley AI groups. So
yes.
when's your next one, just for those
Yeah.
watching?
So we will be at South Central Institute of Tech this evening. We have some absolutely fantastic speakers. Ballot is going to tell us some stuff about, I think, AI with a peanut butter sandwich, which I'm really excited for. I'm not sure
Okay.
what that's going to be. It's going to be really, really fun. Tony Hinckley, the CTO of Avanade UKI, is going to be doing a fantastic session on how we've moved through generations and taking an industry use case, and what that perhaps looked like, absolutely ages ago compared to now what we're doing with generative AI. And as I said, Darshna Shah is going to be talking to us about all things AGI. So um, that would be really, really exciting. Obviously, we always have the fantastic Leon Gordon also doing our AI news and views. So there is something for everyone. I absolutely love the user group that we have. It's so, so nice that we have such a nice community that turns up as well. So thank you to the people that continuously contribute to our community. But we will be there tonight. The next date that we will be around is actually somewhat early in December. So all of the tickets are sold out for this evening. So apologies for anyone that wants to get one in at the last minute. If anyone's dropped off, maybe refresh the meetup page and see if you can get one in. Otherwise, the next date that we will be around is fairly soon. It's on the 10th of December at MKU at the Innovation Hub. So super exciting.
Amazing. Yeah. I mean, Bletchley AI has definitely sort of come up a lot recently.
Mm,
I've seen loads of amazing stuff by you guys. As you said, great community as well. The people that are running it.
100%.
It's I'll have to try and get myself down for one soon. But I know
Yes.
if people can't attend, do you
Mhm.
post sort of the
So
stuff that's gone on? Is there a way to access it?
So Chris is going to be live tweeting this evening. We will always do a newsletter post after each of our events, so that will
Fab.
absolutely go out. The other thing that we do is perhaps once or twice a year we will do an online event. So the next time one of those comes out, check the Bletchley AI user group LinkedIn, check my LinkedIn, look on Meetup, join our community even if you can't get to the in-person events. And perhaps, throughout the year there may be something that comes up for you.
Absolutely. And if anyone is watching and there's any more comments that come through, obviously I'll say just pop them in now. If not, we'll get back to them afterwards. Um,
Yes.
but I mean, I could probably talk to you for hours because there's lots we could discuss about your journey. And I think, what you've done, you're also a dual MVP at the moment as well. Is
Yes.
that correct?
Yes.
Yeah.
So my technology areas for the MVP program are Power Apps and Microsoft Graph, which so happen to be in two different categories, hence why I am then a BizApps MVP and an M365 MVP. It's very cool. I'm literally the Power Platform person in
Wow.
modern work. This is literally what has happened. It's so exciting.
That's so and how long have you actually been within this career for now? How long has it
How?
been?
Oh my gosh. So I have been at Avanade since September. I was at ANS since the April beforehand and then at Hybrid Services for the April before that. So what are we approaching 3 years
3 years?
actually in industry? And then
Wow,
before that, when I was in sixth form, I was sort of working with my school's trust to deploy about 10 plus solutions across the trust as I was learning Power Platform. That's how I learned Power Platform. It's cool. Um,
that's
and the
nuts.
webcast with Donna Sarkar, which I always have thanks to Donna because of that webcast. Where we spoke about the things that I'd done for Five Dimensions Trust and the cool things there. That was really what kickstarted everything. So it's been amazing, right? And this is, I think, one of the best tech spaces to be in. We have the best community, and maybe biased, but um, we have one of the best communities, the most friendliest communities. Um, and so that's something so, so nice to be a part of.
What a whirlwind of just over 3 years. That's
I
that's
know.
yeah, amazing what you've done, and I'm so excited, and I think a lot of other people are excited to see where your career takes you.
Oh,
I'm
thank
definitely going to
you.
be keeping up with it. Keep up the blog posts, keep getting involved with the community, because honestly, I think so many people are interested in what you have to say. Like, it's just refreshing to hear your thoughts. And as I said from the start, just your passion that you've got about it
Oh,
is,
thank
yeah,
you.
super cool. Super cool. So,
Oh,
yeah,
that's so,
definitely
so
keep it
nice.
up
Thank
because
you so much.
that's all right. And I don't know whether you've got any sort of closing points that you'd like to add
Oh, sure.
before I ask the final question.
Yeah, sure. So, not every generative AI product is for you. You know, you have to
Yep.
find the right thing for you. It's exactly the same as not every low code app that someone builds or not every app that someone builds will be for you. Um, what else? Um, keep up with conspicuous, right? Everyone join this podcast. This is a really, really fun podcast. Subscribe to this
Oh.
thing. Keep up to date with this. This is very, very cool. Um, join the Bletchley AI user group on Meetup. Come join
Yep.
us. Have fun. Learn about AI. Um, and if you want to learn something new, head over to Microsoft Learn and search for things around agents. That's what I'm excited about. If you want something to learn and you're not sure where to start, that's the next thing that I'm looking at. So that would be a cool topic to get familiar with in the era and the sort of next phase of this era that we're entering. Those are my things.
That's a good roundup there. And for everyone watching, one, drop Lewis a follow if you don't already. Also we'll link the Bletchley AI use group
Yeah,
link.
thank
What
you.
what's the word? That's the thing. But we'll link it up. And obviously any of the dates will pop in there as well for people to view. And yeah, just take on Lewis's advice. Look into the things that interest you. As you can tell with Lewis, if you enjoy something, it will be fun. He doesn't look sad when talking about this whatsoever. I don't think you've stopped smiling. So, work should be fun. So follow what you enjoy and keep going for it. But Lewis, the last question that we always ask our guests
Mm.
is, if you were not in your current job and you could not be in the tech space, what job would you be in?
Oh my gosh, this comes to my brain so often, and I have no idea what any of the previous thoughts are, by the way. Um, but this very, very regularly comes to mind. Um, if I wasn't currently, so one of the things I'm trying to upskill in is pro dev. So
Yep.
had I have not stumbled upon low code, no code configuration and Microsoft, sort of customer facing products, let's say, um, I would have followed a software engineering pathway and gone down the route of, building ground up applications. That's what I'm trying to upskill in a bit more. Had that not been the case, maybe something like photography, something creative, um, something like that. Yeah, that would
Yeah.
be cool.
That would be cool. No, that's a good answer. I just love that everyone's answers are always different. So it's great. No,
Oh,
well, honestly, thank you so much for coming. Oh, okay.
I had another one,
Go on then.
sorry. Or I would be a
Go for
chef.
it.
I absolutely love to cook. I love to cook.
Yes.
So either that or I'd be a chef. I'm going to stop thinking of ideas now, or we're not going to get to the end of this.
I just want to know, what's your favorite meal to cook then?
Oh, this is really difficult. I have so many. So last night we had like do you know of like Marry Me Chicken?
Of
This
course
is
I do.
quite a so we had like a marry me sausage pasta last night. That was quite nice. Um,
Unreal.
something like chicken katsu curry or chili squid.
From
Those
scratch.
perfect. That's
Yeah.
it.
Now you're talking my language. I'm such a foodie, like I cook all the time. So you're on my
Literally.
page. Maybe we'll expect like a cookbook soon, maybe. Um,
Yeah, we'll see. I'm not
you,
gonna burn
you might
down
be a
people's
bit too busy
kitchens.
for that. Right. Well, honestly, Lewis, thank you so, so much for coming on the podcast. As a bonus episode, I've absolutely loved it. And I'm sure everyone else, oh, that's my microphone. I'm sure everyone else has. But as I said, any other comments, drop them below. We'll be happy to answer them. And if not, we'll see you all, I was about to say next week, but actually we'll see you all on Thursday for another episode.
Oh, this has been awesome. Thank you so, so much, Lucy. Everyone, keep up with Conspicuous. Do the thing, subscribe. This has been amazing. This is such a fun podcast. Thank you so, so much.
Perfect. No worries. Well, have a lovely day and we'll speak soon.
Thanks. Bye.